This is a review of the Journal of the Caledonian Railway Association, The True Line, July 2021 edition. Now, the first thing to say about The True Line is that it is a high quality publication. It is in A4 format, glossy paper, absolutely full of photographs, the majority of which are in colour, but some are in black and white as a consequence of the age of the photograph itself. The magazine typically runs into 60 pages and of course contains key articles as well as general society news and information. The front page of the July edition is a black 5 at Crieff Station, and indeed the main article in the magazine relates to Crieff Station. That could be found on page 27, and there's a 10-page article comprising of well over 20 photographs. Crieff Railway itself is of interest. It was initially a branch from Gleneagles Junction to Crieff. It was then extended eastwards to Perth and westwards to Lochernhead. And the photographs here do range over that period. There are some sad pictures towards the end of the article as to how the station looked after closure in July 1964. Very interesting article. Then on page 14, there is an article on the demolition of the roof on Carstairs Station. Of course, many Victorian railway stations of importance had roofs. Many did not survive the end of the Victorian period. The one at Carstairs did, but was demolished in 1913. And again, there are a lot of very interesting photographs relating to the process of the demolition and the interesting revealing of what was then left with the station buildings on the platform. And there are pictures there that many will be familiar with in the 1950s and 60s and did not change dramatically in the 1970s, 80s or 90s before, unfortunately, the station buildings were themselves later demolished. Carstairs Station itself, of course, was a very key junction. When trains were locomotive hauled from London to Carlisle, there was frequently a detachment at Carstairs for the Edinburgh portion. Another very interesting article relates to an accident at Perth ticket platform in 1883. And this is particularly interesting because it reveals the inadequacy of braking systems at this time and also the complications of operating trains through a number of different companies. So London Glasgow Expresses would be operated by the London and North Western Railway from Euston to Carlisle. The Caledonian will then take responsibility and operate the services north to Glasgow and also to Edinburgh and some other destinations. Of course, the different railway companies had different standards in terms of operations, and that included braking systems. And the differences between the systems of the LNWR and the Caledonian Railway does explain to some extent the reason for the accident at Perth in 1883. Of course, that year is very significant. It is around the time of the Armagh Railway disaster when a great number of people were killed as a consequence of brake failures, which resulted in the government introducing legislation to improve and standardise braking systems. Another interesting article relates to the Barnton branch, one which many may not be familiar with, ran from Edinburgh to Barnton, part of the suburban network of Edinburgh. At one time, it was extensively used. There was a period when there were 16 trains in each direction. But like a lot of suburban networks within cities, they suffered from the competition from public transport, buses in particular. And this particular line closed to passengers in 1951. But the article is full of interesting photographs, again over a dozen photographs I had never seen before. And then, of course, the magazine is full of the usual information of the associations, for example, the forum page, the membership news, the network news, Caledonian anniversaries and book reviews. Very interesting magazine, really enjoyed reading it. It is a quarterly and we're now looking forward to the next quarter's edition.